Thank you, Chair. Thank you for attending, Ms Cameron. First question, the ISA's, I'll call you that, the ISA's 2017 report titled Australia 2030 found that a strong performance in research is not matched by similar performance in commercialisation. In 2019, the former chair of the ISA, Bill Ferris, went on record that ISA had not done well enough in the area of commercialisation. And now your 2021 report, Driving Effective Government Investment in Innovation, Science and Research, has found that improved industry research, collaboration and commercialisation is needed. What role does the Office of Innovation and Science Australia have in facilitating the commercialisation of Australian innovation?
So, great question. The chair of the IISA board, Mr Andrew Stevens, is on the University Research Commercialisation Scheme panel run by the Department of Education, and that specific scheme is addressing the exact question of research commercialisation, and that is a work in progress, and I'm sure the Department of Education can provide more detail as required.
So ISA has no direct role in facilitating commercialisation?
We're helping develop policy to be able to help research commercialisation be more successful.
Okay, but it'll be implemented by someone else?
Yes, by another department. But we have a whole of government mandate and remit, so I don't think that's unreasonable for work that IISA would do.
What steps has ISA taken to secure a share for Australian taxpayers in the results of taxpayers' investment in R&D?
I guess we have an oversight role of a number of committees. So there are 5 committees that sit within IISA, and obviously as part of that oversight role we ensure that best practice is conducted by each of those committees. Okay,
thank you. Third question, the federal government budgeted $10.1 billion for R&D subsidies in 2019-20. Is this money taxpayers are just giving to business, who will then use the R&D money to innovate and make profits for themselves? Aren't we really doing this aren't we really privatising profits and socialising risks?
So the 10.1, I think that's 2019-20 financial year, comes from their Science, Research and Innovation budget tables, which are published annually. For that year, there were 202 programs that ranged from investments for publicly funded research agencies such as CSIRO through to things like the Defence Innovation Hub. And so I think there could be an argument that there have been great outcomes from much of the investment that is part of that.
Can you give us an example?
Wi-Fi would have come from the money. All of CSIRO's outcomes have come from that.
So that was some time ago, wasn't it?
Dr.
Yes,
Cameron, that was a very good response. However, you are getting very much into asking opinions on these are decisions of government, matters of policy.
I just wanted an example of...
You're up, yes, but we're not allowed to ask officials' opinions of matters of government policy, so please continue. The official did a great job, but...
My question, Chair, was about how much of that money is just going to large companies to just fund their R&D.
That actually wasn't quite your question, but
that's
please
initially
continue.
what it was. Next question. In any of the grants programs that are administered by ISA, is there a requirement that the beneficiary is an Australian entity?
I would have to take that on notice about the specific grant guidelines for each of the grants under the remit of the board.
I'm just concerned that money is being handed not just to large companies who can do their own R&D, but to large foreign companies who can do their own R&D, and taxpayers are funding it unknowingly. Next question. I notice in the 2021 report the example provided for effective commercialisation of government research is from the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Were there no Australian success stories to draw from?
If you'll notice, actually the text straight above that page, that I think it's box 6, I think you might be referring to.
Box 6 I am.
So the text straight above that box refers to a number of Australian government programs that are actually doing a very similar role, and I think the text above that specifically says that scaling and coordinating those programs would be a good opportunity. I'm happy to find that exact text.
So is that an example of something that's happening, or just an example of something we could allude to?
That's something. So there are a number of programs called out here about current extant Australian programs, and the example was noting the success of the UK, that this is something that we should further scale and develop more comprehensively in Australia.
It's been going for, what, 40 years in the UK?
Yeah, something like that. 30 years, something like that.
It seems to be an internship, but that's not for here. Last question, Chair. Turning to your press release dated 26th of May 2021, women in STEM rates is a national emergency. A national emergency?
So that is not our press release, that was an Innovation Oz. It was a panel that the chair of the IISA was on with another business person who'd had a look at women in STEM, and he was just providing a counter view, primarily in his role as a board member of the Male Champions of Change, but also with his innovation hat on from IISA.
Okay. Do you have any data behind that, or should we see them?
Data behind that interview is actually an audio interview that they did, and you can listen to it. It goes for about...
No, I mean
50 minutes.
data verifying it.
The national emergency, I think, was used by one of the speakers, not the chair of IISA. That's
Okay,
how
so
that
it's a
got
beat
that
up.
headline.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.